guys are getting into, then I'm not attacking you. I'm just.
No, I am.
It's a situation we're talking about. Not attacking. We're not attacking you.
Yeah.
We're saying two things though. We're giving our kids a real contradictory message. All our bully prevention. Stand up.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
just be a bystander. Don't keep out of it. Don't just stay quiet. Don't huddle away and let it happen. Stand up and say something. Stick up for those victims. That's what we're teaching our kids. And when they do that, they end up suspended.
Yeah.
It's really unfair.
You didn't hear what I said. If she had left the situation.
Yeah, but I have to ask you, sir. Have you ever been in a physical confrontation? Because it happens really, really fast. And it is a biological impulse to protect yourself. When you get hit on the side, you don't think, okay, let me just think what the right, who can I go to? Let me look around this room. Oh, let me go over there.
It's survival.
It's you go into fight, flight. That is our instinct. And when you get hit, you hit back.
It's a reflex.
It's a reflex.
At my school, we run a training in, and to be able to do self-defense properly, it takes a training because they are right. You want to go to fists. You know, as a teacher, I've taught high school students to little ones. Sometimes the high school students, sometimes they come at you, and as a teacher, you want to go to fists, but you got to know better. You got to know better. You got to know how to step away. But let me finish real quick on this. I agree with you. But as a student, same thing. You got to train these kids. How do you step away? Because I know as a teacher, I've felt it. I've had kids come up to me and, I'm wondering if they can knock my lights out or try. So, how do I diffuse this? How do I step away? And fortunately, I have training, so I know how to do it. I mean, fortunately, I have training, so I can step away. But a student doesn't have that training. They don't know how to say. One of the things that we learned in our training was the first thing, and I don't remember it all, but for a student, it was geared towards students and women and men and being attacked in the streets or in a meeting. But first thing you say is, I'm not going to fight, and you step back. And you keep doing that. You keep letting people know around you, I'm not going to fight. Because what that does is, if they fight with you, there are witnesses to say this person was defending themselves. They tried not to fight. But you got to train them in that. You have to train them in that.
Okay, we have somebody down here, please.
Yes.
And then we'll come here.
So I think this is an important conversation about the reality of what's happening in a lot of schools. But what I would hope is that with the kind of people that are here in this room who are trying to do something in a sustained way about how people in our society are treating each other, that we would begin to have a conversation about how are we doing things to change the culture in Dulce's school, so that when she stands up and shows some respect, there are other people who are supporting her, and the girl who went to attack her is less likely to attack her. So I understand this conversation and that it's important to have strategies in place so that our children are safe. But what I'm missing in conversations like this and in other arenas is, and what does that mean for the work that we do in the development of the culture in our schools towards civility, which was what drew me to this conference in the first place.
And that is this afternoon, by the way. That is where we're going. Just say, totally, I think we've had a very important thought here, which is going to move towards civility, that our students should be made aware of the options they have, rather than simply having to, sort of be in a situation of self-defense, and the word respect. So, please, let's go into the other options here. Yes, please.
Okay. I'd kind of like to respond about zero tolerance. While I hear maybe at your school it's working, and for a while zero tolerance was the buzzword, there is a huge amount of research to prove that zero tolerance most of the time has created the opposite, has not created positive school climates, it has created less school climates. One of the things I truly believe in my work is punishment does nothing to change behavior.
Exactly.
And a lot of our students in our district who get suspended, they're thrilled they get suspended.
Exactly.
They come back, they have no more skills. So the reason I'm standing here is in our school district, what we're looking at is how can we do some restorative practices? Yes, these issues are going to happen, but how can we take that as a teachable moment and actually teach them some rich skills so they won't get in that, you know, that problem in the first case. So that's why I'm standing here, because I believe in restorative practices, that using these opportunities as true teachable moments where we can teach our students some skills. How can we teach them the skills? So that's why I'm here.
So what tools they can have to
We
respond.
need to give them a toolbox. They don't have a toolbox.
But, that's it, here and here, okay.
I agree with your statement of what you just said, because I too was on this side at the beginning saying I disagree, but at the same time I remembered things that I've been in situations going, why is this person being punished at the same level as the other person? For me, I think that what we need to look at is, one, teachers don't have time in the classroom to be the ones to teach this. Two, we're looking at zero tolerance and we say, let's suspend them. She was out of school for how many weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, but could have been 9. You know, so what I think we should really look at is, if we're willing to take a student out of instruction for that amount of time, we should then be able to look at an alternative.
Absolutely.
And instead of leaving them at home with nothing else to do and saying, woohoo, raha, give them that teachable moment, put in place, whether it's a classroom, whatever the situation is, between all of us, there's enough creativity here to figure out how do we provide that instruction for those tools so that they can learn, whether it's the morals, the values, be in maybe the same situation in the same room, as to why she was able to stand up to these people and these people were at this level. How do you bring that to a situation where they've all learned something?
So, you know, how do we get Regina into every school? Human rights, right? Yes, please.
So, I think from doing this work and being in the schools for so long, one of the things that I've realized with administration in particular is that policy and procedure are not the same thing. We have to have, okay, you have a zero tolerance policy. That doesn't mean suspension.
That's right.
Okay, what it means is we are not going to tolerate that. And so then there needs to be a very just strong policy in place of how you will with all of this stuff that you guys are saying in it. Because I've been in a school that did not believe in suspension, and they were down to like maybe 1 fight a year, and this was a high school. But what they did do is, oh, you will be in lockdown and you will be put in in-school suspension. You will read this book, you will do a report on this book, and you will learn why this is not okay. But there also has to be very clear expectations, because in that school, a mad dog was considered a fight, okay? So they didn't even give the kids an opportunity to have these verbal altercations. But they were also taught through advisory how to deal with them. There was a curriculum that dealt with that. So you have to have that piece of teaching them the social and emotional behavior.
We're talking about proactive behavior.
Yes.
There's one, let's take one more from over here.